you find me at St Helens, and something of a tradition that I was worrying wasn't going to happen has befallen us today. I got the call from the site owner that we have a swarm of bees on the swarm tree. So this is the swarm tree. They've got this lovely little bit of orchard here, and this tree is where we get quite a few swarms, and the swarm pheromone seems to persist, so they absolutely love to swarm out onto this one. Now, if I'm honest, I think this swarm is probably as a result of a little bit of poor swarm control on my part. The right hand hive there is, if you follow the videos you might be familiar with them, is the hive that hates me. They only sting me. They don't really sting Kate, but they are now in their second supersedure of the year. So they superseded quite early in the year, but the queen hatched out fell at a time when we had some quite poor weather, and I think she didn't get well mated, and so they gave her a couple of weeks to lay some more eggs and everything, and then I think they did her in so that they could have a chance of getting a better mated queen. It's something that they do particularly once the summer sort of comes on and they think they've got a better chance. It's a pity because it's a good a good honey producing hive, that one, and it will probably knock them back doing this. But what I'm going to do, the left hand hive there is empty. I've got that out just as bait, and so were I a betting man, one of my first ever jobs was actually working in a betting shop, and that's taught me one of the most important lessons about gambling, which is don't. But were I to be putting a wager on, it would be fairly good odds that if you left these to their own devices, they would actually put themselves in there as a nice place for bees to go. So we've just been up by the house, we've just been up by the car, we've had scout bees wandering around, investigating every nook and cranny. So while the swarm rests here, they have scout bees looking for somewhere to live. If we left them to their own devices, they'd undoubtedly find that hive, but we're going to force the issue just to play it safe. And so what I will do is, I've got this dirty old bucket here that I usually use for carrying equipment around in. I'm going to scoop as many of the bees as I can into the bucket, and actually, 'cause it's nice and still today, I'm going to walk them over to this hive and drop them on the landing board. Now bees will go in, they'll like the smell of it, we'll start to see the Nasanov behaviour. I'm going to go backwards and forwards and scrape as many bees as I can gently off that branch, and ferry them across here. But all the ones that are loose should start to smell the swarm pheromone and come across over to here, and that will force the issue. And any scouts that are returning to this will have missed their chance to lead the swarm off to other places. So Kate's just taking some photos for her Instagram account. Do have a look at the Bunbury Instagram account. It's lovely. It's very much Kate's baby, and Kate takes a lovely photograph. And if you want to see some beautiful images of bees in action, then you can admire Kate's work over there.
I am also looking for the queen.
And Kate is also looking for the queen, because you will sometimes find on one of these swarms the queen running around on the outside, and then if you're able to just sort of grab her and make her secure, that really takes quite a few of the question marks out of the procedures. It is, as I've mentioned before, one of the most tricky games of Where's Waldo in the world, but when you do see her, and in this case she will be a virgin queen, I'm quite certain, so she's a little bit harder to spot again. Oops, sorry, I just had a bee buzz at my hand there. There she is. There. And now she's just burying herself back in, but I hope that because I pointed at her. You never point at the queen. Old beekeepers will always tell you this. But she's there. She's kind of much more conical and pointy bummed, which denotes that she's a virgin queen. So she's present, she was there. If I'd had gloves on, I probably would have dived in and tried to scoop her out in the first instance, because that allows you to secure a lot of things.
Can you get the waggle dancing?
And then, yes, Kate makes a good point.
Sorry.
All of this activity, if we look around for some doing a figure of 8, there we go. Look at this one here. So you see her waggling and the bee's paying attention. So she's going around in a figure of 8 and stopping to waggle at certain points. And that is giving information to the bees about somewhere she's found that is worth investigating as a place to live.
Would you like me to take the queen?
Oh, yes, do. Right, I'll put my gloves on. Now I'll start doing some scooping of bees. Have you found her there?
Yeah.
Brilliant, well done. Scoop her up with a few other bees as well.
I'm trying to, but she's very persistent.
Yeah.
She's quite long.
Yeah, so she's a good, she's had royal jelly from a good early stage.
Sorry, interrupting your...
No, that's all right.
I've got a handful of bees. It takes a minute.
Okay. Here she is. There. Right then, if you're able to... Do you see it? No, she's trying to bury herself in again.
No, she's still there.
There's me bigging up how hard it is to see her, and Kate and I between us have seen her 3 times in as many minutes. That isn't always the case.
She's gone back in.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want me to scoop them down?
Yeah, go on, if you want to try and brush a few in gently. They're smelling good and lemony here. Let's try and get as many as we can in the first instance. So we're just trying to be very gentle here and not squash any between bucket and tree or hand and tree or anything like that. Okay, I'll take... Oh, alright, or you could. Have you got the bucket?
I've got the bucket.
Cool, okay, if you want to go over and I'll follow you and film, just tip them out on the landing board. Let's see if we can't get some...
Oh, I nearly put them back in the wrong one then. Whoops.
Okay.
Just here?
Yeah. So you see, they will... Some will drop. But when they're not sure what to do, they go upwards. So... There you go, look at that. So the angle on the landing board is pretty nice. We're getting bums in the air. Look, there's some in the centre there. Oh my goodness, that's a really powerful lemony smell coming off this. There we go. All right.
I have a lot of bums in the air in the bucket.
Yes,
Look at that.
Okay. Yes. Ah, fantastic. Yes, so that's going to make the bucket smell amazing. Now, for years, we did use a skep, which is like a basket, old-style beehive that's a woven basket, and we'd use that for collecting swarms in. I left it out in the rain all winter, and so it's a bit no good now. One of the reasons that it's quite nice to keep using the same thing for swarm collecting is that it does imbue this lemony smell, this Nasonoff pheromone on it, and so it becomes more and more effective the more you use it. And so maybe I ought to get a little marker out and go and write swarm bucket on this bucket or something. But actually we just use the hive that we're going to put them in and drop them straight into that. Do you want to invert it and tap the bottom?
I was just going to take some more pictures. Right, they're all over my hand now as well. If you could tap.
So, all right, I'll tell you what, if you take this, I'll take the bucket right off you. So no, or not, hold on. Right. Perfect.
I've got a handful of bees.
Just be careful about my grip so as not to squash any bees. Looking to see if I've got the queen in here at all. Right, back to the tree. good number of bees over here.
I know, it's quite a big one. I'm annoyed I couldn't get the queen. She was too quick.
Right, now ferry this lot over. So normally with the queen, just for the video's purpose here,
Yes.
normally with the queen, you just play the odds. You don't have to see her. You just pick up big wadges of bees like this, and you hope that you get her in with them. But you know, it would be so easy to miss her running in here. You know, you don't know. We may have got her already, but she'll tend to follow where the majority of the bees are. So you keep an eye out, because she's quite a nice big sized queen. You know, we've had glimpses of her. There she is. So she's nice and long. She'll fatten up once she's mated. So I'll keep my eye on her because we want to see her go in. Going the wrong way.
Going the wrong way.
Seen queens go the wrong way before. Right, there she is. She's heading the right way now. And the wrong way. And in. Ish. And in. Now, there's no guarantee that she'll stay in. You can sometimes put things in the entrance that act as queen excluders, so once she's in she can't get out again. But she needs to go out for a mating flight amongst other things, so really we couldn't put that on that long term. And it's always better if she gets out on her mating flight good and quick. So she's on the clock a little bit now to get mated. We've got lovely weather for the next 2 weeks, lovely for humans. I wouldn't mind a little bit of rain in it, but she should be able to get a really good quality mating flight, which will be in the next couple of days. And so if we were able to devote the time to hang around here, what you'd see is the similar sort of swarm behaviour, except the swarm flies out and then comes back within about 40 minutes. Something I've only ever caught the once, and not with a camera, sadly. But yeah, a mating flight's a brilliant thing. But it's very quick, you know, they're all out and then they're all back again fairly promptly, and if you're not there at the exact right time, you miss it. So we've still got some good Nasanov behaviour here. They've just got to sort of order themselves a little bit and work out what they're really doing. But I don't know that they sort of have much in the way of memory of events. I think their instinctive behaviour, I think when you just put them here, they just go, oh, all right, well, we're at the mouth of a hive, we must have found it. And they just switch to the behaviour that they do in that circumstance. And by forcing the issue as we have, where we've intervened, I don't think they miss that process of scouting or anything like that. I don't think the lack of that seems to affect anything in the way of how reliably they then hive like this. A lot of beekeepers do say that marching in makes them more likely to accept it. She's got a fantastic bucket full more of bees here, so tipping them in. This is a good sized hive.
I don't like it when they fall off.
Yes, I'll catch them. they're mostly going the right way. That's a fantastic march. That's really given them the right idea. And again, a big waft of lemony smell again as they... there's a drone there, you see the bigger bee, with his big eyes. So, in fact, for a virgin queen, this is surprisingly few drones. I've talked in other videos my theory that drones seem to like to jump the gun a bit. There's another, it's not the same one. Or at least sort of be ready for the gun when the mating flight happens. Quite often virgin queens, you find you get a good number of drones about. This one doesn't seem to have that many, so I don't know what to infer from that, apart from perhaps I'm wrong in that supposition. So yes, so they will be a sister colony to this one almost certainly. I haven't looked through that one to see what the score is there. So that one could maybe chuck out a cast or two as well. Sort of smaller swarms. This nice big swarm is probably 50% of the bees out of there. You could lose sort of another cupful or two over the next few days out of here if they've brought on more than 2 queens. Here's Kate ready with another bucket full. So the amount that you're able to get in the bucket starts to diminish as you go on. Bee selfie. But we don't have to manually ferry all of the bees from point A to point B here. That's the problem with beekeeping, is that the puns become unintentional. So you see there's much less bees here. Give them about half an hour and these bees will realise that the queen is elsewhere, and oh, well, here's weird, here's a different queen. I've just found a second queen.
What?
I've found a second queen. She doesn't look very good. She's a bit witchy-woo, but she was a queen. She's just run round there.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Might be worth. Now, I've
What's the bees back?
yeah. Ah, no, what we'll do is I'll go and get a nook and we'll just put another one out. At least I'm pretty sure. Yes, there we go. Oh, she's just dropped off. She's on the wing. What? Where?
There was a bigger bee flying around.
Yes. Yeah, she doesn't look a very good quality one. It can happen sometimes that you get a swarm with more than 1 queen in, and then they subdivide. If I can get the camera on her, you'll see that she's a bit scrubby, but she's.
Okay.
And yes, the very big swarm that we had that I got really excited about and posted about, that had more than 1 queen in, and when I came back they had actually separated out into one of the other bait hives again after a couple of days, so you can hive them and then they separate off.
Did you see her come back?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I'm keeping an eye out for her. But it may be worth just at this point forcing the issue and taking her and putting her in a different spare hive that we've got. So I'll go and get one of those in a mo. If I can spot her again with there she is. She's just buried herself in again, but she's quite slender and not very long. And what you get with grub queens there, did you see her? She's just ran around here again. With grub queens is quite often she'll get mated, she'll lay a few eggs, and then the bees will kill her and bring on another one in the to try and take the opportunity to get a better quality queen. She just disappeared in there again.
We haven't got a clip to hold her.
No. If I was more mercenary, what we'd be doing here is actually we'd cull her. A lot of beekeepers would do that, would actually look at a queen like that, kill her and just roll all the rest of these bees in with the other one. I haven't got the heart to do that. I like to give them their chance, and amongst other things, if we split them into 2, there are benefits associated with that. So you've then got 2 chances of mating, and if, for example, the nice queen that we saw walk into the other one failed for some reason, she's just disappeared in there again, failed for some reason, if I've got this one on standby next to, we could then, and this one did successfully mate, then she's a nice insurance policy. So if the first one failed in her mating, we could combine in with this one and have that standby mated queen that I've talked about before as being quite a useful resource to have. So once these guys have clustered up a little bit more, I'll go and get a nook and we'll put them in that.
Where is one? Okay.
Down by Marty's. The one right at the bottom shouldn't have any bees in. Just have a little check first. So the lowest one furthest downhill. So yeah. So, and because of the presence of another queen here, these ones will probably not now fly over to that one. They'll probably consider themselves a separate entity now that we've separated them like this. You see they go from right up here to down to here. They'll likely cluster a little bit more. I'm still looking for another look at that queen. She's running around so much, I'm sure I'll catch another glimpse of her in a minute. I just quite want both hands to try and...
Figure of 8 there.
If I catch the queen again, I want both hands to try and scoop her.
Yeah. They've all gone in.
Yeah. Because I think where there's a queen left here, they're not going to call any of the bees over to there. These ones will now, I think, consider themselves a separate entity.
There's not very many of them though.
No. I've just been saying to the camera. This would just about cover a frame, and is really just, it gives you a queen in reserve, which has a value.
Fair enough.
And if say this one mates and the one from the big one doesn't, you can combine them together, and you've got no loss. So it's a nice insurance policy.
Look at that magnet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to just sort of bucket and scoop a bit. So you see how this is condensed now? There were bees right the way down to here. But,
I'm going to just film over your shoulder.
just trying to be nice and gentle here, because you can't quite tell where the tree starts.
There's more bees than you think.
It's particularly just here. Right, well that's enough to get started here. So,
Do you want to put something in front to get them in there?
no,
or?
I'm going to put these first ones in on top. Then we give them a cover to make it feel like it's a home. But I'm going to leave this front edge uncovered, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of fanning there.
Or they'll all leave.
Or they'll all fly out. Yes.
More bees.
There we
go.
So here's a start. This one,
There
another one
you are.
just starting to join her. So now if I scoop these off, we should start to encourage that Natanov behaviour. Hopefully cool these ones down to themselves.
Can I scoop?
Yeah,
I like scooping.
I know you do. doing some excellent scooping there. Now that buzz change is interesting, so that's quite similar. Eventually the knot of bees where they've started will melt away, and it happens very suddenly, and that buzz change, it could be that Kate has got the queen in there. Just chuck them on the roof, I think. Put them on the roof, they'll get the hang of it.
She's there.
Ah, there we go. That's why the buzz changed.
I know. Maybe not, maybe just a big bee. There was one that looked really different. But maybe not. Maybe
Could
not.
easily have got her in that first go, but there's lots more Nazanoff going on there. Yeah, they look like that. That's all good signs there. Come back to here just to see if there's any sign of a queen now. If she is here, she becomes easier to find the less bees there are, of course, because there's less bees to hide behind and amongst. So you see, one of the things we're fighting here is we've still got Nazanoff behaviour. I'm in the air spraying a pheromone here. And there'll be a little bit of a pheromone war between this and that for the next few minutes until one or other decides that they're winning because they've got the queen, we just hope that it's the ones by the hive. Bees. So we just stopped for a little bit of refreshment and to let them sort themselves out and see what would happen. We got loads of flying around. It wasn't easy to interpret what it was, and so I didn't even turn the GoPro on because I didn't think it was that significant. But we finished our refreshments and come to have a little look. There's not much going on in the nook here at all, and so I had a little look, and all the bees have flown out of it. And all this flying around seemed to be coming from here, and I think they've flown in there, even though that means that there's two queens in here right now. So what I've done, I've moved this one up here. If they rehive, if she swarms out again, if one of the spare queens swarms out again, that's fine. To be honest, if they fight and the stronger one kills the weaker one, that doesn't hurt our purposes. It is their way. There's no way of stopping that from happening if that's what's going to happen, it seems. She's flown over here of her own volition. We gave her an alternative. And so yes, we still have a bit of a cluster over here. And so our final job, we will just do as much of a scoop up and put them in the bucket. So you see they have reconsolidated into a nice lump again, which makes life a bit easier. Kate's just been looking to see if the queen is in here, but I'd be really surprised at this stage. I'd be really surprised, but today has been a little bit surprising, so I'm ready to be surprised again. I would be unsurprised by a surprise even. Yeah. But that is probably just going to be it. That'll be more scooping, more chucking out the front there, and then we'll come back in a few days and find out what on earth they've done. I'll make sure I bring the GoPro so that you can see what's going on inside that hive, assuming that they're still there, because it will be really impressive from bare foundation how much drawing out and honey they'll have put in, because they go into proper overdrive right after a swarm. Swarm vigour is an amazing thing. So I hope that you have found that interesting and informative. I will actually close off the video with Kate today as a little bit of a rare treat, because it's not often all this happens at the weekends. So yes, I hope that you found that interesting and informative, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bees. So we came back here, just done a scoop up, found another queen in here. So we did a bit of a scoop and got some in the bucket, Now, if you remember what I was talking about earlier, and I was talking about skips and how the smell gets better and better, so the bucket smells amazingly lemony. So I've actually just put it up on top here like this, and as soon as I did, bees started running in. And so you see suddenly we've got this Nazanov thing. I don't know why I've not thought of this before. It makes so much sense actually. But there we go. Not everybody is a natural innovator. Some people just, you get lucky with an idea every now and again. So yeah, I've popped this up here, and they seem to be now marching up into it, because look at that, and you look in there and there's nothing but fanning, so that's going to smell amazingly swarmish. Hopefully this queen that's been running around on the surface of these guys will go in there as well. So we'll give these a minute. We'll see if they all settle up in there a little bit better, and then we'll go and pop them in the nook, and it'll be a tiny number of bees. If it's too small, I'll come back in a couple of days and take a frame or so out of the big one to add to it. But yeah, we will try and maximise the number of viable queens we have, because viable queens are always useful. So, a little postscript. I will come back before signing off and let you see how this works or not. So yeah, see you in a moment. Bees. It's been a saga. So they rejected the nook the first time, and we had to get quite forthright. But we've just witnessed the queen flying in of her own volition this time, and yeah, it was a case of just with the bucket scooping and bringing them over here. We've decided to put them in the shade. Maybe that'd help. Dump them on the top. Go back. Scoop, dump, scoop, dump, scoop, dump. Ad infinitum. The branch up there, they've completely melted away from, and we've got this really, really strong Nazanov response now. We have been here a long time and it was so quick getting the bulk of them, who are still very happy over there. But this second queen and this little handful of bees have been a handful. But it is done, I hope. You'll know, because it will be the end of the video. And so, I hope that has been interesting and informative. And we will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.